Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Live with CDP podcast, season 3, episode 2. And I'm looking forward to my guest today. His name is Ken Bradley. He's the senior editor for the Athletic NFL, and he covers the Panthers, the Ravens, the Rams, and the Cowboys. So I'm looking forward to talking to Ken about his career in journalism and also working for the Athletic, and just to see what his thoughts are on the Super Bowl 56 matchup between the Los Angeles Rams. I still want to call them the St. Louis Rams, but the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. It's the Rams' 5th Super Bowl appearance in their history. And for Cincinnati, this is their 3rd trip to the Super Bowl. Their first one was 40 years ago, 1981, at the Silverdome at Pontiac, Michigan, against the 49ers. So if you guys can just give me a minute, I will bring on Ken Bradley from The Athletic, and I look forward to speaking to him today. Good afternoon, Ken. How you doing?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Good. Again, thank you so much for being able to come on my podcast.
Yeah, sure. Glad to jump on and talk sports anytime. Yeah,
Definitely. And to honor you, I guess they're the week I put in SoFi Stadium. Have you been to that stadium yet, Ken?
I have not. I am based just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I have not been there. Of course, the writer I work with, Jordan Rodriguez, who covers the Rams, is there all home games, and we've got a team of probably about 8 to 12 people at one point or another from the Athletic who will be there throughout the week and on Sunday.
Wow, the stadium just looks so amazing just watching it on TV.
Yeah, it's these stadiums are getting nicer and nicer, and yeah, it looks like a great place to play football.
Definitely. Now, I was wondering, I wonder if the Cincinnati Bengals fan base will travel well for this game and it'll be a split crowd, because I noticed a lot of games there this year. It seemed to be a split crowd at the SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, especially the Rams played the 49ers at home late in the season, and of course they played them in the playoffs. And during the regular season, at one point, it was so loud when Matthew Stafford was coming to the line of scrimmage that they couldn't even hear. So yeah, it's I think the Super Bowl. One, like you said in your intro, the Bengals. It's been so long since they've played in the Super Bowl. What a great story. I think you'll see as many fans of the Bengals that can get there. But the Super Bowl is always one of those games where, even though it's in Los Angeles where the Rams are, it's not going to be a typical home game because ticket prices are crazy. I think a lot of the people who end up attending that game are just there to see a football game. Then you'll have your kind of your group of Rams fans, your group of Bengals fans. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game. Before I get to some questions, Ken, quick question. Yes or no, should the Pro Bowl be scrapped?
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I just had to ask you, because I'm going to be honest with you. I love football. I love all the major sports, but there's only one All-Star game I'll watch in sports, and that's the Major League Baseball All-Star game.
Yeah. The Pro Bowl, select players for it. Don't play the game. I mean, there's too much of a risk for injury. These players are getting paid too much money these days to risk, tearing an ACL, breaking an ankle, doing something in a meaningless game, and then to watch them play, what is essentially two-hand tag flag football. It seems pointless. There's just scrap it. You're right. Baseball is different. That's one that as a kid I look forward to watching. And basketball is a little more of a showcase, but football, there's just you've got big time investments showing up on that field, and the last thing you want is, one of your best players to get hurt and miss part of a season or the entire next season. So yeah, there's no need to play that game.
I was gonna say, and I'm being up at near Toronto. I'm a CFL fan as well. They used to have an All-Star game in the CFL, but they scrapped it in the late '80s because of those reasons. Why have a key player on a team get hurt really in an exhibition meaningless game?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, do away with it. Select a team. You know, it, it's an incentive on your in your contract to be selected to the Pro Bowl. Just don't go play in it. Yeah.
Definitely. Even the hockey All-Star game, I just could not watch it. And the NBA All-Star game I used to like, but they've changed it so much now I just can't get into it.
Yeah, yeah, it's baseball is really the one. A lot of people were critical um, when they changed the rules and decided that the winner would have home field advantage in the postseason. Um, but when you look at things, it gives you a little more incentive. But then, baseball has changed so much over the years that it's one thing if your team their first baseman or shortstop is playing, but all of a sudden pitchers, you don't want to. They're not going to go throw two, three, 4 innings in an All-Star game or 20 or 30
Hmm.
pitches. They're going to come in and be as efficient, one batter, two batters, and then on to the next pitcher. So and that changes the way the game's played too.
Definitely. And I was mentioning to one of my friends today, there's a bit of a CFL connection with the Cincinnati Bengals because Zach Taylor was the Winnipeg Blue Bomber third string quarterback on their '07 Grey Cup team. They didn't win, they lost. And Cliff Kingsbury, who's the Arizona coach, was the starting quarterback for Winnipeg back then.
Yeah, that's good. Um, yeah, those are some. Cliff Kingsbury was a boy. He could sling it back in the day.
Yes, and then Joe Burrow's father, I completely forgot about this, played in the CFL from '76 to '81 with Montreal, Calgary, and Ottawa. And I couldn't believe I forgot about it. But I guess it's been over 40 years since his dad retired.
Yeah, wow, that's something. It's yeah, he's Joe Burrow. What a great story. My wife was just telling me before I walked in here that the Cincinnati Zoo just named a penguin after Joe Burrow. So they're getting behind everything, and all these weird little stories that pop up around the Super Bowl. But fun too. So yeah,
Definitely.
it's
And if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, Joe Burrow will be, as far as I'm concerned, he'll be as big as Pete Rose in that city.
oh huge, and you tend to forget that he tore his ACL, and there was no guarantee that, and he tore it fairly late in the season last year, and
Hmm.
there's no guarantee that he was going to come back and be the player that he was before he was injured or that he was at LSU, and he's made people completely forget that. He's a great talent. Smart, big arm. He's got great weapons around him. Uses them and yeah, I mean it's going to be they win that. I mean, who thought Cincinnati would be in the Super Bowl this time a year ago?
I really thought it was going to be Kansas City or Buffalo. Whoever won that game was going to represent the AFC. But
Yeah, it's nice to see. It's not to get over in the college football world, but college football, the playoff has become this small group of schools that play in it every year. It seems like, and the NFL, you get a little bit of that over the years, and I know the Rams aren't, they're not strangers to the Super Bowl, but um, yeah, it's good to see a different matchup.
absolutely, absolutely. And before I get on to some questions, I just have to ask you this: quick thoughts on Tom Brady's retirement, and do you think he will actually stay retired?
I do. At his age, um, you can only keep going and avoiding like a big injury or something significant like that for so long. And I know he takes care of himself. He's in phenomenal shape. I mean, what he's been able to do, it, the older he gets, the seasons that he's had, um, is unbelievable. But it's also, you look at that Tampa Bay team, and they're not going to be the same team. If he was coming back, they still wouldn't be the same team. And I would be, that's not the way he wants to go out. I mean, they had a chance to get the Super Bowl this year. They were a good team. They didn't do it. Um, I don't think we're going to be talking about Tampa Bay as a Super Bowl contender next year. And you know, Tom Brady, he's not going to go to a third team just to play it out. So yeah, I think he's done. I mean, why not enjoy life? Um, sit back and do some TV appearances, whatever. But yeah, I think he's done.
Okay, because I was gonna say with the Niners might having a quarterback opening, maybe that would open the door for him to come home. But we'll see what happens with that situation with Jimmy G, and then they got Trey Lance as their backup quarterback. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
definitely.
I think you're going to see him hanging up for good.
Okay. Well, being an Eagles fan, we're just lucky we beat them in Super Bowl 52. So I'm happy about that. And that shocked me because Carson Wentz was injured in that and didn't play in that game, and we were huge. The Eagles were huge underdogs, and they did pull it off.
Yeah, yeah. I was just reading one of our stories we had earlier today from Zach Berman, one of our Eagles writers, and he was at Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, and talking about how the Eagles, even though Hurts is their guy, that they're probably still looking at quarterbacks and evaluating because that's what they do, and reference seeing Wentz back in the day and at the Senior Bowl and how that came together. But yeah,
Maybe they should bring in Jordan Palmer to help Jalen Hurts because he did a great job with Josh Allen in Buffalo.
yeah, yeah, he's a good one. I mean, Hurts is a lot of people were all over the place with Hurts on what type of player he was going to be in the NFL. Great arm, obviously a great athlete. Played at Alabama, Oklahoma, two great programs. He's had great coaching, and I think he's still really young. So I think you're just going to see him keep getting better and better.
Yeah, and that's the same with the Eagles. You're right, they have to make a decision. Will Hurts get to that next level, or is he what he is right now? So they're going to have to determine that very soon if they want to pursue a veteran quarterback or not.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Okay, I'm just going to get to some questions, Ken. First one I wanted to ask you, can you just tell my Canadian audience just a little bit about yourself, and when did you decide you wanted to pursue a career in journalism?
Yeah, I I'm one of those probably those rare people who kind of had an idea what I wanted to do a long time ago. When I was in high school, I was sports editor of our student newspaper. My older sister went to school and studied journalism, and I knew when I went to college, I went to Auburn, majored in journalism from day one, and I knew that's what I was going to do. I was a freelance writer during Christmas and summer and spring breaks. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, writing for papers down there, and yeah, and I graduated and jumped right into the workforce.
Okay. Where did you attend school? And then did you have any mentors when you were first starting out in the industry?
Well, like I said, I went to Auburn and was a journalism major from day one. Um, and it was much different back then than it is now. It's a lot easier to kind of connect with people. But I one of the first papers that I did some work with while I was still in school was the St. Augustine Record in St. Augustine, Florida, and the sports editor there is a guy named Bob Thomas. Um, he was kind of one of those guys who kind of put me down straightened me out with some of my writing and some of the things like that. And I still stay in touch with Bob today. He ended up working in the Florida State athletic department for a while. Got to know Coach Bowden there really well. But just a really smart guy, patient, and someone who, early on, kind of pointed me in the right direction.
Okay, because I like to ask my guests about mentors and when they start out in their careers and stuff like that too. So, you answered my next question. So that's another thing I'm working on too is listening skills. So sometimes you can ask a guest a question and they can give you the answers to five, six, seven other questions as well.
That's true.
So, anyways, the next question I wanted to ask you, Ken, how did you end up working for the Athletic, the NFL, and just describe your role as a senior editor?
Yeah. Well, I'll backtrack a little bit. I worked at four different newspapers after graduating. Just taking little steps. I started out as a writer, then moved into an editing role, and then I was sports editor at Florida Today down in Melbourne, Florida, and an opportunity to move up here near Charlotte came up. I started working for Sports Business Journal, um, and was there for about 2 years. And our company bought the Sporting News magazine, that relocated from St. Louis to Charlotte, and I got hired to work for Sporting News. I was an editor there. Eventually became a college football editor, and uh, after I was there for, gosh, at Sporting News for about 6 or 7 years. Um, and then as an Auburn guy, an SEC football guy, SEC sports, I took a job at SEC Country, which was just an all SEC sports site, based owned by Cox Media Group. They own the Atlanta Journal Constitution, and worked there for a couple of years before that folded. And then that's when I was, that's kind of one of the risks you take when you get into this field is, um, job cuts and things like that happen a lot. And the Athletic at the time was probably going on about 2 years, and was still, um, hadn't become what it is now. And at the time, they were looking. They had expanded from, they started out with city sites, Chicago being one of the first ones, and they were expanding. And so, um, uh, a couple of people I had worked with in the past had moved on and worked at the Athletic. And so, it's always great to have kind of a network of people you've worked with and had good relationships with. I applied, um, had some conversations with some people, and they were in the process of expanding to some new city sites. And one of them was going to be the Carolinas. And so, really, for a couple of months, I had discussions with one of the people at the Athletic, talked about the staff and how that would be put together, and I got hired to be the Carolina editor. And I also oversaw our Nashville, Memphis team as well. And so that went on, and really until we hit the pandemic and things kind of slowed down, and then we have, we just the Athletic just hit 6 year anniversary. And any business, any uh, you know sports news site that grows the way the Athletic has, it's going to evolve. And so we've kind of moved away from the city sites, and it's more sport vertical, specific. And so when we did that, I slid over into the NFL team because I was working with our Carolina Panthers writer, and our Tennessee Titans writer at the time, and Baltimore Ravens. And so I've been part of the NFL team for like the past couple of years, and have had the opportunity to work with some really great writers and great editors. And now my group has expanded. I have Joe Person, who covers the Panthers. Joe and I have been working together since my first day at the Athletic. Jordan Rodrigue, who worked with Joe in Charlotte at the Charlotte Observer covering the Panthers. Um, we hired her. She was also covering the Panthers, and now she's from the West Coast, and so she's been covering the Rams for the past couple of years now. So she's out in LA. I have two Dallas Cowboys writers, and then Jeff Zrebeck, who was our Baltimore Ravens writer. And then I also work with one of our national writers, Ted Wynn, who is out in California. He does film analysis. He breaks down X's and O's, does a really great job of explaining what you're watching when you see things on TV.
Wow. I was gonna say, and you've probably seen this in the last, I don't know, less 10 years, the past 10 years, sorry, the past 10 years, how much the industry has gone from print to digital.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm one of those people who, I always had newspapers laying around, and
Hmm.
and I love a good newspaper, but I haven't subscribed to one in I don't know how long. Um, I still like picking one up every now and then, but um, what you can do with the digital product now is it's way better. And I know people. I have scrapbooks from when I played like high school sports and clippings and things like that. I love that. I miss seeing that. But but yeah, it's just you know when I'll use the Athletic as an example. When you bounce around the Athletic website, it's so much stuff you could not possibly even begin uh, to read, even just a small fraction of everything, because there's just so much stuff, and really great stuff. I mean, you could, there are stories, I have up here on my browser. I still have them clicked up here because I want to read them, and just haven't had a chance to yet. But yeah, you're right. It's, the digital world has really changed things. And, I think that for a while people really resisted it, but that's come and long gone. So that's just where we are now.
Well, and I was telling my one friend 10 years ago, I didn't even know what Wi-Fi was. So, so I've come a long ways in 10 years. And to be honest, I wish they had this platform back in the 90s, because I think it would have gone into broadcasting, because this has given me a great opportunity to do my podcast and talk to people from Canada, the States, other countries, and to improve and work on my interviewing skills.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. I mean, it's created so many opportunities. Uh, my son's high school basketball team, because of the pandemic, a lot of the high schools now televise games on you pay a subscription fee, and there's a kid who does the play by play. He started it when he was in eighth grade. Now he does it in ninth grade, for all the home games. And by the time he graduates high school, he's going to have a nice little resume of and work that he can show people, and that's an opportunity that you know he wouldn't have had 10 years ago. And you're right, it opens doors for a lot of opportunities, a lot of people to do some things that they may not have had a chance to do.
And that's true. And I'm also taking up blogging too, because I figure if I can improve my skills as a blogger and a writer on the internet, that will help as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's one thing to be able to have a show and talk about things and discuss things. It's another thing to be able to sit down and write them.
Hmm.
And it's that's the thing now too. It's like once you write it and publish it, it's out there for people to see. So um, same with you out. When you're talking, people can, we're going to have access to stuff, and whether it's a good opinion or a bad opinion. So
Definitely.
yeah. Um,
And that's the one great thing too with my podcast. It's live, but if people can't watch it live, they can watch it or listen to it 24/7, 365 days of the year.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right. That is the beauty of everything. I mean, it's everything. It's TV, it's radio, it's music. You remember a time when uh, you'd get in the car and you would hope you'd hear a song,
Yep.
and if you were 3 minutes late, you missed it.
Yep.
And now
Yep.
you just
Rewind. Yep. Satellite
yeah,
radios, the technology. Yeah.
yeah, do whatever you want to do. Listen to it. Yeah.
definitely. You okay for a few more questions?
For
A few
sure.
more
Yeah.
minutes? Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Yeah, because I always try to keep with my guest schedule. So, what's a normal? I shouldn't say normal day, but what's a day like typically for a senior editor, especially covering four NFL teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's it gets a little tricky sometimes because, like I said, I'm on I'm in North Carolina, so I'm on the Eastern time zone. My Panthers and Ravens writers are both in the Eastern time zone. My Cowboys writers are in Central time zone, and then my Rams and then my film analysis writer are both in Pacific time. So um, when things line up just so, it can really make for long days because I don't want to if my Rams writer is filing a story at 5 or 6 o'clock her time, which is 8 or 9 o'clock my time. She shouldn't be penalized for that. It's hard for me to say, oh well, it's 8 or 9 o'clock for me, but not every day is like that, and usually, I have a good team, and we communicate really well, so I know when things are coming, and if I know that, now Super Bowl week's a little bit different because there's stuff coming every day, but during a typical week during the season, I have a good idea when things are coming, and one of the you know, uh, we all work from home, we all work remote now, and which is great in a lot of ways, and it's not great in a lot of other ways
Hmm.
because you're in a lot of ways you're always available. But if I know that my Panthers writer files a story at 3 o'clock, and I work on that and I get it done, and my next story coming in is going to be at 8 or 9 o'clock, then you don't. If you're going to an office, you get in at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you wouldn't end up leaving until 11, 12 o'clock at night. But you can kind of balance your day out that way. And I do. All of my writers kind of have their own little system, and I know what to expect of them. So usually my mornings are busy. I have a little bit of a lull during the day, and then things pick up in the afternoon. Um, it's a lot more structured during the season because um, you have games, you have news conferences that are scheduled. You kind of know when your writers are planning to write. In the off season, things get a little more. Everybody, not that everybody does their own thing, but the off season gets shorter and shorter too because you have free agency, the draft.
Hmm.
Um, then training camp is right around the corner, and so yeah, I mean, it you stay pretty busy. But when I've always been involved in sports, and it's what I enjoy doing. And most days it doesn't feel like work, so that's a good thing. I can live with that.
And that's why I'm trying to get into the radio industry because I love talking to people. I like asking questions and I like learning stuff from my guests. Every podcast I do here, I learn something new from my guests.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I mean, it's like you said, listening. That's what we have to do all the time, and you learn stuff, and you learn good habits. We have a great team of editors, and I know everybody does things a little bit differently, but over the past couple of years, little things pop up, and you're like, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I should do that, and then you realize, hey, that works. That makes my life a little bit easier.
And one thing too, when I'm quite active on Twitter, I like to go to reliable, credible sources too. So that's the Athletic is definitely one, and that's important with journalism too, is to make sure you're credible and you check your sources and all that too.
Yeah, and that's we. There are so many layers to what we do, and when there is news that breaks, we have a process, and um, we're not just going to publish something that um, that we think is right. We want to know it's right. We have have lots of conversations with my writers and other editors when things are happening. Um, the Athletic was just purchased by the New York Times, and the New York Times is you know
The
the New
big
York
yeah,
Times is the New York Times, and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and we'll work separately from them, but um, they have a standard, and they are the digital site that most people as a business model would aspire to be that successful, and now we have that backing too, and that's years and years of journalism standards, and things to learn from them and watch as well. And but yeah, it's I always think it would be, you mentioned Twitter, and you see people get bent out of shape on Twitter about this and that and stories and what somebody said, and sometimes I do wish you could just like pull somebody off of Twitter and take them behind the curtain and say, all right, before you start you know screaming and yelling about something, I want you to see how all this came together, and you understand that um, it wasn't like someone just sat down, wrote something, and we hit the print button.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into it,
There's a
and
process. There's a process, and that's why I wanted to ask you about.
yeah, for sure. It's yeah. I mean, like I said, there are a lot of layers to it. Um, there, the last thing you want to do is end up being the story, and there are very few times that I can recall in the 3+ years I've been with the Athletic where um, you know the athletic uh, the Athletic's name is out there because of of something. I mean, we've broken some really big stories, and that's when you want your name out there, and that's when you see the Athletic, it's usually things like that. Um, because like I said, you don't want to um, you don't want something to come out, and then next thing you know, you're showing up over here and they're saying, hey, this is what these guys said and they were wrong. And so like I said, we have built-in procedures to keep that from happening, and lots of conversations, and we have we have good people all the way up the chain, and who established a good system from day one, and we just kind of keep building on it, and it's worked so far.
I'm gonna have to look at subscribing to the Athletic too, because I had the pleasure of talking to Tim Graham, who's out of the Buffalo area,
Yeah,
and he's a really good guy too as well, and he does a good job for the Athletic as well.
yeah, he's a great writer, and we have periodically we'll have good subscriber deals. Usually, I think the last one we had was right around Christmas. I think we had like a $2 a month deal for a year, which is a great deal.
Yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say so.
yeah, and every now and then we'll do like a dollar deal, something like that. So if you hunt around, you can usually find something really good. But it's like you said, you're an Eagles fan, and I think a lot of people think, well, you know, can I get on there and see my team's coverage? Well, yes, but you can see everything. Just because
Yeah,
you subscribe to read Eagles content, you have access to all our NFL, Major League
yeah.
Baseball, NBA, college football, soccer, everything. It's so much stuff. Hockey. So like I said, it's a lot to read, and it's you can't get enough of it.
Okay. And I just got a couple quick questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. Ken, just quick thoughts on the 21 NFL season, and quickly your thoughts on this postseason and the one game that was the craziest ending I've ever seen, Buffalo, Kansas City.
Yeah, it was a fun season. I kind of get locked in on kind of seeing it through the teams that I work with. The Panthers have been the team that I've worked with the most over the years, and it was not a great season for them, of course. And then the Ravens were just hit by all sorts of injuries. They lost their top three running backs before week one. COVID, uh, you know, just it picked away at every team at one point or another. The Cowboys had, a, a really good season. They turned things around. A disappointing ending. The Rams have been that team that, just kind of the way they were built, adding the pieces they did, you kind of sense that this was going, you know, it, you had Tampa Bay playing the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay last year. Um, Obviously, knowing the Super Bowl was going to be at SoFi Stadium this year, the Rams, they put all their chips in and said, "Let's go for it," and here they are, exactly what they wanted to happen. Um, yeah, I mean, it's the Tom Brady story, great story, of course. Um, every NFL season's entertaining and fun. But yeah, that I mean, the whole postseason's been, just the ratings have been through the roof every week. You're like, oh my gosh, it's more people watch this game than But yeah, that game, wow, you just what more could you ask for? I mean, that's you know two great teams, two great quarterbacks going at it, and I'm still amazed that uh, there was a time when if you scored with less than a minute left, that was ball game. And
Yeah.
now it's
Yep.
like if there are less than 20 seconds left, hold on because you don't know what's going to happen. And we saw that throughout the postseason. And so yeah, it's I think everyone is hoping that this is going to be the Super Bowl is going to live up to what we've seen the past few weeks in the playoffs. Um, who knows? We'll see.
Okay, and that leads to my last question. Really, thoughts on Super Bowl 56 matchup between the Bengals and Rams, maybe a couple keys, and who is your pick for Super Bowl MVP?
Hmm. Um, uh, I think if I had to pick a winner, I lean toward the Rams. I just think experience wise, you've got Matthew Stafford, you got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. They added Von Miller, they added Odell Beckham. Those are just those are Hall of Fame players and in key spots, and they're still very good. And that's not even Cooper Cup. A lot of people would say he should be the MVP this season, and I couldn't argue with them. I think that they've struggled at times. They played like a really good first half and then struggled in the second half and lost some big leads. Um, you know, I- the Bengals. I, I I don't know if defensively if they can hold up well enough. Um, but with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and those guys, they're going to score points. And so, I don't think it's going to be a 21-17 type of game. I think it's going to be, 31-28, 31-27, that sort of thing. I think the Rams end up pulling it out. And as far as an MVP, um, it's hard to, I would, after seeing what I've seen this season, I would say it's hard to bet against Cooper Cup. Um, he's just that guy who shows up at all the right times and makes big plays. I know Stafford's going to have to get him the ball, but I would that would be my pick. Would be Cooper Cup.
I was going to say if I was picking the Rams, I agree with you. One question about him. To me, my observation of Carson Cup is he is a faster version of Julian Edelman. Do you see any similarities between him and Edelman?
Yeah, he could be. He is the thing that makes there are a lot of things that make Cup a fantastic player, but one he is great after the catch. He back when the Rams scouted him and he went through the combine, some teams were scared off because his combine speed was not what you would want out of a receiver who, is maybe a little bit undersized. Um, but they did some GPS tracking on him and liked what they saw, and that's why they went with him. It's kind of like you go back to Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was not super fast, but he put on pads and a helmet, and all of a sudden he was like Superman. You couldn't catch him, and Cooper Cup is that way a lot. He has a great ability to break tackles, to avoid tackles, and one of the things that goes with that is that he's also a great blocker. Um, you don't expect that from your guy who almost had 2,000 yards receiving. I mean, he will stick his nose in there, clear a path for Cam Akers or Sony Michelle, and one of his other receivers. And yeah, I mean, those are the types of players that help you win Super Bowls.
Yeah, and to me, I see so many similarities between him and Edelman. His high football IQ and just being at the right spot where the ball's got to be delivered.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're able to find um, holes in the zones. They're able to beat men one on one, and just drive you nuts because you're like, hey, the ball's going to him. Why can't someone guard him? You just can't.
Definitely. Okay, and a last question for you, Ken. I'm going to wrap this up since I've kept you a little more than 35 minutes. Any advice for those looking to pursue a career in journalism? And where can my audience find you again on social media and your website as well?
Yeah, I think the key to getting into it is starting early. And if you're in high school, um, if you have a student newspaper, get involved with that. Um, there are most high schools have Instagram sites and Twitter handles for their sports teams. Get involved in that. Shoot video. Do things like that. When you get into college, and if that's what you want to do, go to your college newspaper. Take assignments. For someone like me who I knew I wanted to get into sports journalism, um, that didn't mean that the assignments that I was going to get were always sports assignments. So, learn to do some of those, you know, uh, covering a board meeting, things like that, that may not be what you want to do, but it helps you learn, kind of grow your skill set a little bit. But the more you can kind of do things like that to get your foot in the door, the more people you can meet, reach out to. Um, a college campus is a great place if you're covering. We're in basketball season now. If you're covering a college basketball game, and you're working for the student paper, make sure that the writers for the newspapers and the websites who come there know who you are. Introduce yourself. You never know. You know, a year down the road, 10 years down the road, where there might be a job that you're looking for, and that person remembers you, and you made a great impression. There are people that um, when I was at Sporting News, um, we had an intern um, who was is I still to this day say that he made the best impression on me and everybody else who worked there than any intern I'd ever been around. And um, and he works at the Athletic now. And I've been a reference for him a couple times for jobs, including here. And the first thing out of my mouth every time is absolutely. He's a hard worker. Um, he impresses you from the first moment he opens his mouth. Um, and and here we are. It's been probably 6 years since I met him, and I still remember that first impression that he made on me, and that's big. You don't want to be that person who turns people off, because you never know when that opportunity is going to come back around, and you're going to want somebody in your corner. Yeah, and then you can find me on Twitter. Oh gosh, I haven't looked at my Twitter handle in so long. It's Ken Bradley NC, and I tweet a lot of our content from our writers out, and try to showcase them the best that I can, because they do great work, and it's a pleasure to work with the six writers I work with every day.
Okay. And I just want to say again, thank you so much, Ken. I got your athletic.com NFL a website on here as well. And what you're saying about building contacts is huge. And with my podcast, 80% of it's sports, but now I'm trying to get people from other professions to branch out to prove that I can interview other people outside of my first passion, which is sports, obviously.
Perfect. Very good. Yeah. Yeah.
So
The more you can do that, interesting people and interesting conversations are always a good thing.
I've been very lucky. Like I said, I've had people like yourself and John Murphy from the Bills, Bob Sochi from the Patriots come on my podcast. And I just want to try to keep improving every day, each show. And again, I want to say thank you so much, Ken, for coming on. I apologize if I kept you a little bit longer than 35 minutes.
Oh, no, that's fine, Chris. I appreciate you reaching out anytime.
Okay, you have a great night and enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll keep in touch with you on social media.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Ken. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my podcast today with Ken Bradley from The Athletic. Just one second. You guys can check out his website, theathletic.com/NFL. And he does the four teams. I mentioned the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Rams as well. So just want to say thank you again to Ken Bradley coming on. And I want to say thank you to everyone watching on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you to everyone watching on Facebook Live and on my Twitter page at Chris D. Pame if you wish to follow me on Twitter. And just wanted to let you guys know my next Live with CDP podcast is scheduled for this Saturday, February 12th at 12 p.m. approximately Eastern Standard Time. Guest is Stu Boyer. He's a former longtime sports anchor, reporter for WGRZ Channel 2 in Buffalo, New York. And Stu's going to come on and talk about the 21 Buffalo Bills season and the look ahead towards the 22 Buffalo Bills team, what they need to do in the draft and free agency. And I'm going to get Stu to talk about Super Bowl 56, the Bengals and Rams, who he sees winning the Super Bowl, who's the MVP is, and some of the keys to a Rams or a Bengals Super Bowl as well. And I'm looking forward to speaking to Stu. This will be his third time coming on my podcast as well. Also, guys, just to let you know, Live with CDP podcast, the audio version is downloaded to Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn. And this is season 3 of Live with CDP, episode 2. And I'm really enjoying doing this podcast and working to get more guests on for March and April to come on. And also, guys, you can check me out on TikTok at Live with CDP on TikTok as well. And let's see, I got some other sports news to put on here. The 109th CFL Grey Cup this year will be at Mosaic Stadium on November 20th, 2022. I'm going to try to I have somebody coming on from the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats next week. I will announce that this Saturday. So if you guys can tune into my podcast Saturday with Stu Boyer, I will announce a guest from the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats coming on next week to talk about his career in the CFL and in football, and I'm looking forward to that guest as well. And also, guys, the Houston Texans are expected to hire Lovie Smith, the former Bears head coach. Sources told ESPN's Adam Scheffler and Phil Yates on Monday as well. And also, guys, kickoff for Super Bowl 56 this Sunday at SoFi Stadium in LA, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Caesar Sportsbook right now lists the Rams as 4.5-point favorites, while the over/under and total number of points Vegas thinks will be scored as 48.5 in the latest Rams versus Bengals odds. I'm going to give you CDP's Super Bowl prediction right now. I'm predicting Cincinnati to upset the Rams 28 28-21. Cincinnati wins their first ever Super Bowl, 28-21 over the Rams, and I'm predicting Joe Burrow to be the Super Bowl MVP. I like both teams, and I hope it's a great game. And it really doesn't matter who wins this, because I think the Bengals are a good young team, and the Rams, they're a solid team as well. But I think Cincinnati will upset them 28-21. But one of the keys for Cincinnati to win is they can't turn the ball over, and their offensive line has to protect Joe Burrow. He cannot afford to get sacked by the Rams' great pass rush of Aaron Donald and Von Miller, etc. 9 times like he was against Tennessee. So I think Cincinnati can play a clean game with no turnovers, and their offense line can do a decent job against the Rams front four and protect Burrow and give him time to get his receivers and running game established. I think Cincy can win this game 28-21. So we'll see what happens there as well. And yeah, I'll just put that right there. 28-21 Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, Super Bowl 56 MVP. You got me on this one. And also, guys, just to wrap it up, the Glow Storm are at Sarnia tomorrow night, Wednesday, February 9th. Home to Flint on Friday, February 11th at 7:30 at the Sleeman Center on Rogers TV. I'll be doing games for the cameras. And then Saturday, February 12th, the Storm are at Saginaw. The Storm are currently tied for 5th in the Western Conference with Owen Sound with 41 points. The Storm, I think, have only won 2 out of their last 11 games. So the 3-game weekend, the 3 games this week is going to be huge because they have dropped in the standings and they desperately need a win badly. And all 3 teams, Sarnia, Flint, and Saginaw are good teams. So hopefully the Storm can turn it around tomorrow night, starting with the Sting, who are a tough team as well. And I think that's about it, guys. Like I said, I just want to say thank you again to Ken Bradley, the senior editor for The Athletic, for coming on. He covers the Panthers, Ravens, Rams, and Cowboys. And you can check out his website as well. And like I said, I'm just going to wrap this up. Yep. Again, I hope you guys can tune in again this Saturday, February 12th, 12 o'clock. If the time changes with Stu, I'll let you know. But he was with WGRZ Channel 2 in Buffalo for 35 years. And I look forward to speaking to Stu for a third time on my podcast about the Bills and the NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 56 as well. I guess that's pretty well it, guys. Like I said, I hope you all have a great night. And we'll see you guys Saturday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If the time changes, I will let you guys know on my social media. Again, thank you to Ken Bradley for coming on, and everybody watching live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Thank you so much, and listening to it on my audio podcast as well. And check out my next blog. I'm going to be doing another blog very soon, and it'll be on all of my social media pages, and it's on my website to Live with CDP, WordPress.com as well. You can check out my site there as well. So, all right. Anyways, guys, have a great night, rest of the week, and we'll look forward to my podcast with Stu Boyer this Saturday, February 12th at 12 o'clock Eastern, hopefully, if everything goes well. And I will announce my guest from the CFL next on Saturday for next week, which I'm looking forward to as well. All right, guys, take care. And again, thanks for watching and listening to Live with CDP podcast.